Item E, discussion, appropriate action on a request to remove Ole Converse from the responsibility of the Park and Recreation Commission and to delegate the authority and assign responsibility to the city manager and city staff for Ole Converse. Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Mayor. At the city parks meeting, the motion was made to separate Ole Converse from Parks and Rec, and there was a second, and it was voted on, and it passed. There was only 2 that voted no, not to separate it. There were 3 that said they'd like to work both Parks and Rec and Ole Converse. Mr. Hughes went around every member of the Parks and Rec and asked them individually who would like to work on just the Ole Converse. We didn't get one taker for just Ole Converse. There was 3, like I said, that said they worked both, but we didn't get one. 3 doing both, it just won't happen. This is not enough people to accomplish Ole Converse. Parks and Rec has been doing some work on it all along. And so they have done some work on it, but they all wanted to stay as Parks and Rec. I turned to Mr. Hughes and said, what do we do now? And he felt that the staff could handle it. And since this has been brought before the city council before, and the time wasn't up to bring it again, we had to have 3 people support this motion to bring it on the floor. So at this point, as late in the year as it is, my recommendation that Mr. Hughes feels the city staff can do it, and I'm sure we can get some volunteers' help, because we got 3 that said that he'd be glad to work on it. That would be my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hughes, do you have any comment? That staff can handle the work for the Ole Converse?
I think it has been traditional for many years that the Park and Rec Commission put on Ole Converse. It serves 2 things. One is it is the town's annual festival party, and it is a major fundraiser for capital improvements to the Converse parks. And in addition to Ole Converse, they've looked at the master plan, and within what could be afforded, where should we put our money? And we have, the Park and Rec has put their money into a kids' wading pool, into Little League or baseball lights. They put their money into a gate and so forth. So they've made those kinds of decisions or made those recommendations to the city council, and subsequently were adopted. I think over the past couple of years, the membership of Ole Converse has come from people who were not interested in events coordination. And so we ended up with, out of 11 members, 8 do not want to do event coordination. And it's been that way for a while. I think Tanya Drake, as chairman, felt that frustration. I think the previous chair observed that, and of course it had never been stated clearly by the members that they didn't want to, but in this meeting, 8 members said they weren't interested in doing event coordination. That's not what they signed on to do. So if you task volunteers, pressure volunteers to do something they don't want to do, it's a bad product. That's where we are. So the staff works for the council. We need to fulfill the requirement. So if you want Ole Converse, then the obvious answer at this stage, we are
mid-June. We need to put this on the first weekend in October. You don't have a lot of options as I see it. So it falls to us whether we like it or not, and we pick it up. Now, where the Park and Rec Commission goes and whether or not this is a permanent thing, I suppose that requires some thought on City Council. if you go back to the original traditional idea of Park and Rec, that they're going to provide kind of oversight for the capital improvements, and they're going to put on Night No Converse, then I think as a part of the recruitment process, we need to make sure that the people that we're appointing to be members of the commission are indeed first interested in doing that, and second, have the skill and talent to help the city where it wants to go. So we have grown. We've grown quite a bit. My first Night No Converse, we made $3,800. That was our net. So to go from 3,800 to we sometimes get pretty close to 40,000. That's a pretty good leap. You know, we're nowhere near the 150,000 that the new councilman advocated that we be. That's a major leap. And if you're going to get there, you surely need some skilled and interested, enthusiastic people. You can't do that with complacency and apathy. So I guess near term, I don't think you have a choice. There's only one source to put on Night No Converse if you want to do it this year. Beyond that, I think it probably requires some workshop and discussion and serious thought as to what you expect of the park system and who you think is the best source of professional skill to get you there.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Any discussion? I think that, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would tell you that a while back I had a talk with the Parks and Recs, and this has been going on for some time. It's not something new, Mayor. Or I think Mr. Hughes is aware of that, and I think a lot of the council members are aware of that they've been wanting to split the Parks and Rec. And I would tell you, I was in agreement with that, and I'm sort of still in agreement with that. If I get a good understanding, and like Mr. Hughes stated, we should have a Night No Converse. When you look at the commission, the way it's written, a lot of it is talking about simply Night No Converse. It's totally just deep into Night No Converse. It doesn't really talk about what the Parks and Recs are to do as far as what's to happen with the money, what are we supposed to do with it. So I think that the commissions have struggled with this, from Mrs. Joan Lundgren to Mrs. Tanya Drake to Ms. Joella Schindler that was there. I think all the chairs that we've had, to include Pam now, if she's still here, is currently struggling with that issue right now. As far as what are they, if I could get a good, clear, concise understanding, if we split this commission from Night No Converse and the Parks and Recs, that I don't see an issue with this. But right now, to split them at this point, what is the purpose of having a Parks and Recs commission then? If somebody could explain that to me and sell me that idea, I don't see why. The way, if you look at the charter, folks, look at the commission the way it's written. It's simply detailed and just got a lot of stuff with Night No Converse. Go out there and look for it online yourself and look at it. What I'm telling you is, what is the purpose of a Parks and Recs commission then? Until we can define what the Parks and Recs commission function is going to be, I think it's a bad idea to split them at this time and not be able to support our city staff, the city council, the citizens of Converse, people that claim they want to be involved, they want to help. This is the time to step up to the plate and at least make it through this year, or at least come up with recommendations and ideas on what it is that the Parks and Recs Commission specifically goals and objectives and scope is going to be, versus what the Night No Converse, if you decide to set up a commission for Night No Converse, and to be a subcommittee, then so be it, that it's only within from January to June that they work on Night No Converse, and then we no longer need the volunteers again until the following year. But to disband or to split this commission at this time, I think it is a travesty to the city. I think we have set ourselves up for failure, and we've done this for 35 plus years. And I tell you, to rest that burden on our city staff on top of everything that they got, please understand that if we do that, folks, if we do that, you won't have the entire 100% support from the city, because they're going to be involved in trying to put the Night No Converse. Their staff is going to be taken away to support the city of Converse, Night No Converse. Please be aware of that. City council members, fellow council members, please understand and be aware of that as well. That we are burdening our city staff, our police force, our fire and EMS, and our city as well.
I think Mr. Hughes indicated that the city staff could handle 9 Converse. I think the Parks and Rec Commission has 2 parks, North Park, City Park, and there's another park that's undeveloped, East Park, that hasn't been touched in 2 years. And I think giving them the opportunity to concentrate on parks, and just the parks alone, I think that would be a better idea, at least to try it. And I know that, and you're right, we have talked about separating these two, the 9 Converse, because the commission spends a lot of time, and they have done a great job, but you know, something has to give, and what's given is the lack of the attention to our parks. A good example, East Park hasn't been touched. We've had East Park sitting there for how long now, Mr. Hughes? 2 years? It's been sitting there, and we're about to get more land from the Skeel property that could also turn into some type of a park, you know. And so we definitely will need a Parks Commission, and I think Mr. Hughes is indicating that he can handle 9 Converse. These are full-time employees, and I think that together with some of the other volunteers, outside volunteers, that they could really make it happen. I think Mr. Hughes has a fantastic staff, and I really think he can do it. And so for me, I would like to see it separated because it hasn't worked. It's worked the best way it can, but I know it can work more efficiently. I know we're in June already, and I'll just ask you one more time, Mr. Hughes, can you make it happen if we give it to you?
There isn't a choice.
Right.
First, I guess, I don't have a problem with working with people that want to do 9 Converse. But, so if you all, 4 people stand and say, no, we're not going to split it, then I would ask you then to follow that up with looking for people who do want to do it in coordination. I mean, it's, I went through volunteers, you know, this kind of came to a boil in November, December last year, and we had this on the table, and we ended up rewriting 303 as a result of it. But it kind of came to a head when there was some self-criticism within the Park and Rec Commission, and one of the members shouted down the other person by saying we're volunteers. And I gave an assessment as to what I thought that meant. But basically, if you're volunteers and you don't want to do it, it's not going to get done. And so the choice is we can resource it, get some citizens that want to do it and go down the road with that way, or we can turn it over to the staff, or we can let the staff work it with interested volunteers. I don't have a problem. In fact, there's a couple or 3 members that I would like to recruit out of the existing commission to help. Even if the staff gets it, I think they're interested in doing it, they want to do it, and I would ask that you not prohibit the use of citizens volunteering to help the staff to put on some of this. So, can we put on 9 Converse? I guess we would start with, I guess, the concept that has been, and that is in round numbers, gross revenue 60,000, expenses around 25,000, and the difference being net profit. Now, that doesn't track with some goals and objectives stated with the new Park and Rec liaison. I mean, I don't know what, we probably need to understand that better. But for the staff to go and do what we did last year or something close to that, we're capable. Now, going far larger than that, I'd be hesitant to say, okay, yeah, we're on board, because I don't know what the definition of that is just yet.
Dave, you sitting on the board, and you've been sitting on the parks for several years, you know, given the state, what you've seen, do you think, in your opinion, that it's better off to be separated?
Sorry, it's better off to be separated than try to force 8 people to
I
do what
agree.
they're not
Okay.
interested in doing.
Thank you, that's what I anticipate.
Mayor, as the past Park and Rec liaison, I think with the staff from the city, without overburdening them, I think we would get enough citizen volunteers to support the city staff, from what they have spoken to me so far, to help this come off. And I think it can be pulled off, and I think we can have a good night, no Converse. So I'm definitely, at this time, in support of it. And anybody out there that feels they want to be an event planner, just come forward. We'll be glad to take you on. Thank you.
I agree with you, Councilwoman Riley, and I support your stand in this trying to, because you've been in there and you've seen it yourself. That's why I was asking Mr. Hughes, he's been to the meetings, he's seen it himself, he's worked it, so have you, and you get hands-on experience on it. So, anyone else? Go ahead.
First off, I'd like to say I respectfully disagree with you that this can't work. In 1996-ish, somewhere in there, I first got involved with the city, being on the Parks and Recreation Commission, where I first met Sam, and when I was recruited by Brenda Sharp to be on that commission. And the way it was explained to me by Brenda was that it's a lot of work. 50 to 75% of the time is planning and executing National Converse. 25% of the time is planning the expansion and the development of the parks. I recall starting somewhere in May to get it hot and heavy, to put everything on, and then culminated in with a 60-hour work week for the 3 days of Night No Converse. We all accepted it, we all understood it, we all pitched in and did it. We rolled into December in the Christmas light contest, and then we had about 3 or 4 months in the winter and springtime where we debriefed what we did right, what we did wrong for Night No Converse, and at the same time have the meetings were taken up in planning and making recommendations based on citizen input, our friends, neighbors that were telling us what they would like with the parks, developing our budget and our master plan for the parks. We did that for, I guess, 3 years, 4 years that I sat on that board. I think I agree with Sam to a certain extent, and I think we're stuck right now. But it also goes back to the Parks and Recreation is not or commission is not a once a month, let's go to a meeting and plan things out. And the people that we appoint, it's our responsibility to appoint the right people to that commission. And when they go in to be appointed to that commission, they have to understand what the requirements to serve on that commission are. It kind of bothers me that folks are saying, well, I want to do this, but I don't want to do that. When you sign on for responsibility and are appointed that, then you go in for the whole thing. It's not a pick and choose. I want to play this way. I want to play that way. Yes, you're a volunteer, but by the same token, you need to understand and accept what you're volunteering for and do the job. Frankly, I think that it can be done. I've done it personally. I've seen it done. I've seen it done for a lot of years, like Sam said. When he first took it over, I think my first year we made $14,000, and we grew that up into the 30s. So it can be done, and that's in 1990 something dollars. It can be done. It's a commitment by the commission to get the job done. I think that if we're going to split the two, we're going to have to take a pretty hard look at what the responsibilities are going to be. Again, I can't see splitting it. I think we're in a position now, echoing what Sam says, that our hands are tied. We're just going to have to give the city as much help as we possibly can but we're going to need to take a hard look at what we want that commission to do. I don't think saying split it, we can't do it is a good answer, because I've seen it work, and it takes a special commitment by the members to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, can we legally do this at this council as far as delegating the authority and assigned responsibility without bringing the actual charter up for a rewrite, approval?
Yes.
I think
I'll
that we can do that
defer
based on-
to Mr. Ortiz for that question, that answer. You want to take a recess? Okay, we're going to recess for 10 minutes this time so we can get for Mr. Call City Council meeting back to order. Mr. Ortiz, sir, go ahead.
Mayor, the way that the agenda item is worded, you are permitted to take the action that's being discussed if you choose to do so. The test would be, would a reasonable person reading this item have an idea of the potential outcome of your discussion and your vote tonight? And the reference is to the Park and Rec Commission, which is Ordinance 303. So if you choose to do that, you are able to do it under the way that it's worded on the agenda. As I understand it, if you choose to do that, the ordinance, however it's reworded or amended, would come back to you for a vote at the next meeting with a new language in it.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Any further discussion on item E?
Would it be appropriate under that to direct city staff to assume the responsibilities for National Converse without touching 303 for right now?
You mean kind of a variance for the time being? Yeah, you can do that. The council can amend its ordinance.
Without amending the ordinance?
You can amend it, you can vary, you can grant a variance to it, you can determine a variance is necessary based on circumstances. The key thing is that, is the public notified of potentially what could happen here at the meeting? And I believe the public is notified that potentially those responsibilities could be removed from the commission. And they would have had an opportunity to come and speak on the issue if they chose to do